our hearts align.
Hello everybody. I am hoping I didn't mess anything up. Do you ever have something happen right at the last minute and you're like, oh, what was that? I'm gonna hold on a second to make sure we're streaming because something weird happened. There we go. Okay, I think we're streaming. Hi everybody, happy Friday. Today is July the 25th. I'm feeling much better than I did last week. Last week was a bummer, y'all. Hi everybody. Darlene, you got something in your eye. That's so crazy because I was just rubbing my eye. Isn't that weird? Isn't that weird? Oh no, I hope that whatever it is clears up really fast. Hi everybody. Today we're doing part 7, or this week, y'all. Also, as soon as I got ready to hit live, the guy who cuts the grass on both sides of the dirt lane, he just started cutting the grass, so you're going to hear that in the background. Part 7, which is actually, not to make it confusing, week 11 and 12. That's so confusing. Oh, it's not going to show up. Week 11 and 12. So I thought we would hang out today, and I'm going to do week 11 little square placements with you while we just chit chat. If you are on Patreon, y'all, this weekend we have our quilt retreat. So tomorrow, what are the times? Tomorrow, 3 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's a free-for-all, sewing or not sewing, whatever we're doing, just hanging out. And then Sunday, 2 to 7 p.m. and we're doing the workshop for the Scrappy Midnight Star block, right? So hopefully you can make it. I'd love to see you. Chrissy, I am feeling a lot better. I'm still a little congested, but not like I was. I'll tell you, I haven't been sick in several years with a cold, and so when I got it, it just took me right out. Hi Joyce, you're so welcome. Thank you, Pat. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Now, before we move on, I just have to show y'all a couple things that I'm super excited about because I've been playing this week. Many of you have already gotten it, right? But I'm coming out with something else in addition to this. Hold on a second. Let me bring you to my desk. My bags, y'all. This is my Nana crossbody bag. And this one is actually going to go into my studio tour, right? All 3 of these are. But isn't that just so pretty? I love it. Then I made a purple one, which is really tempting to keep this one because it's just so pretty, right? Isn't that just so pretty? And then this one, was it yesterday? I figured out how to make the bag by paper piecing everything together. So I don't know that I'm going to make a pre-recorded video, but I'm going to make the paper piecing pattern available to everybody. We're going to do a live, not on a Friday, maybe one night this coming up week. It's paper pieced. This one, because the embroidery machine didn't do the quilting for me, I just did straight line quilting, and it is so pretty. Can you see that quilting in there? It's just straight line quilting. There, I think you could see that a little bit. Same bag, made on a sewing machine. So that's really cool, right? And then I've been playing around with this. Isn't this just so dang funny? Could you make it as a wristlet? Make that as a wristlet. I think you could make a wristlet to put on it. That would be a big wrist. Well, for me, I think that would be a big wristlet. I could be meaner, But look at the dainty, petite, little girly, frilly quilting in the background of that. Little flowers and leaves. Isn't that so funny? Now this was pieced and quilted, all in a 5x7 embroidery hoop. 3 different hoopings, right? It pieced this section, and then we piece this section, and this section is quilted too with little flowers through the rows. It's hard to see that on camera. And then you hoop and you do this section, and I cut my letters out on my Scan-A-Cut, and you would not believe, like, I don't know if it's gonna focus, but how perfect the little blanket stitch is sewing those letters down. I could be meaner, right? Isn't that so funny? Selma said, I told you zippers were easy. You did. You absolutely did. I still can't wrap my mind on how to make that bag without some aid of paper or the machine doing it for me, right? So paper piecing in a zipper was super easy. You are so right. But just to make the bag from pre-cut pieces that are measured out, I'm not sure how I would do that. Anyway, I thought that was so dang funny and cute. And this is also a paper piecing pattern. These little blocks down here, so you don't have to have an embroidery machine to make that either. All right, so weeks 11 and 12, or part 7, are these 2 blocks, right? After this week, we have 4 more blocks to do. I'm thinking 2 more weeks. Break them up. 2 blocks next week, 2 blocks the week after, right? My quilt is gorgeous. Now, I did take an evening this past week, and I placed all my fabrics for last week's block because y'all, I did not feel like doing it last Friday. But I did get all my fabrics put on my stabilizer and fused in place. They're not sewn. So tomorrow during the quilt retreat, that's what I'm going to be doing. I'll be sewing 4 blocks to catch up. But I'm going to go ahead and do this one with you, or the placement of all the squares. Selma, I would love a little lesson on zippers. I would love that. So let me move my little grid in here. Pardon me, y'all. Bumpy side up, yes. I get this tickles in my throat, and it makes me still cough, and a little tiny bit of a stuffy nose, but nothing like it was, which that was miserable. I'm just going to pin this in place so it doesn't move around. I was trying to think of what else happened this week that I could tell. Oh, I canned more tomatoes. And yesterday afternoon, I made tomato sauce and canned that. Don't poke yourself. There we go. All right, it looks like you could call that dark blue. Matter of fact, I'm going to do the darkest blue I have right there and there and there. But these I'm going to do black right there. And these I'm going to do black. I think if you look at on the computer screen, it's easier to tell if it's black or dark blue. But I feel like we are all the creators of our own individual quilts, and we can make executive decisions on what colors we're going to do. So just by looking at this, I'll do some dark blue and some black. So let's pull out the black first and just get that put in there. The blue is pretty, isn't it? It is pretty. And let's get my glue bottle. And I'm going to put glue dots down everywhere that there's a black little fabric square. So we're going 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. It's going to take a second for the glue to get down to the bottom. There we go. 1, 2. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then these two down here at the bottom. And I'm going to do patchworky different black fabrics for my placements. Let's see. I have enjoyed this quilt so much that I've been playing with the idea of doing another one. Not a butterfly, but something else. When we started this, or last year, I did a poll and I showed what? I showed a kitten, a Highland cow, this butterfly, and I feel like there was something else. The butterfly won the votes. But I almost feel like I want to do another pixel quilt of something else. Because it's just so much fun. Like, I don't have to sit here and think about this. I don't have to think about the seam allowance being perfect. And it's lovely. Let's do one solid black square, and let's bring in one of these. And then smush it all down. Hello, Anitra. Hello, everybody. All right, on this, I see two really bright blues. So we're done with the black. Let me pull out the blues. And I want to just fill in those brightest squares first. Can you do a session on how you make the pixel quilt pattern? Yes, although I would have to remind myself because I did this like a year ago. But I could sit down and refresh my memory. Do you have EQ8? All right, so the brightest is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. My brain is still not exactly 100%, if you can't tell. 1, 2, 3. So these are the two brightest. I'm going to put this light blue here. And then let's put this one here. Like that. And then we have one, let's just call that light blue too. Why not? Up, over. Does anybody else talk to themselves while they're doing this? Or is it just me? There we go. Now I'm going to do this shade of blue. Oh, what's this? That's the same as that right there. I'm going to do those bright blue too. My thumb was covering it up. Let's do this one. And let's do this one. All right. Now we're gonna go here, under here, under here, 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 and here, and then over, up, 1, 2, 3. All right, that's gonna be the next sort of shade darker. A shade darker. I thought this was darker. It's a little bit darker. And those are spread out. Let's do this. It is so hot in here, y'all. It is so hot. I have a box fan in the doorway, but I turned it off because it makes a noise. It actually, I find it relaxing noise. But it makes a lot of noise for the camera. Explain EQ8. EQ8 is a software where you can design your own quilts. It has lots and lots and lots of preloaded quilt blocks that you can use, and tons of fabric swatches that you can design with. You can also upload your own custom fabric swatches, and you can create your own quilt blocks. Yeah, if I get this filled in and we have a little bit of time, maybe I'll share my screen and pull up EQ8 and we'll walk through just a little preview of what it does. All right, focus, Lisa. So we just did those. There's a lot of this blue right here, isn't it? Actually, this is a little bit different. It's hard to tell on this on the printout, but let me pull in here, 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 and here, and then these two right here. These two. Let's go a little bit darker. Yeah, EQ8 is awesome. I use it to design my quilt patterns. That's what I used to design Sunday Stars. And it will give you measurements of units to cut for your blocks. And it'll also, for that same block, give you a paper piecing foundation. Now, it won't write the pattern for you, right? You still have a lot of math to do. It'll tell you how much total yardage of each one of the fabrics you're using. It will do that. But it has also made, like, I don't want to say it was a mistake, but somehow it gave me the wrong calculations for Sunday Stars. Either that or I cut the fabric differently than what it calculated I should have cut it. And so there was that mishap. But I love EQ8. It is not a free software, but you buy it one time and it's yours. I love that. See my fingers shaking? Okay. What glue am I using? I am using Aleene's Tacky Glue for this particular quilt. Lots of people are just using an Elmer's glue stick. That's what I'm using right there. Okay, so now let's go in and, oh, see these that kind of look like a sky? There's some of those in there that are slightly different. There's 1, 2, and then right here. And then 1, 2, 3, a diagonal right there. That looks good. See, that's what I love about this quilt is that that's a little bright. Who's gonna know what was supposed to go where? Right? Let's put that there. My little fabrics are getting mixed up in my container. That's not what I wanted to use. Here we go. Yeah, it is hot in here. I feel like the box fan in the doorway blows the cold air from inside the house out here. You walk through the doorway behind me and there's a visual, like, immediate temperature difference. All right, so then I'm gonna fill in the rest. Let's do the darkest blues. Let's get those out of the way. So there's here, 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 and here. And then this and that. And then down here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares. And I'm going to say that that's a dark blue right there. That way I can just fill in everything else with all this other stuff. And I have a bigger selection. So there's a dark blue. There's a dark blue. And then we'll come down here. And there's a dark blue. There's one. There's one. Let's find some more dark blues. I think what's messed me up is they're not like they're a little out of order in this box. So I have a couple over here that are dark blues, and then I use them in places where they're not really that dark. Okay, so now I'm gonna come in and do this next to the darkest. Oh, I forgot one right there. Hold on a second. There we go. All right. There's two. Three, two. Let's call that one. I've run out of things to talk about, y'all. There's that. There's that. I like that one. Let's pull out some more of those. I don't know if you can tell or not, but these little circles have gold. See the little shiny gold? That's so pretty. I obviously did not iron this particular fabric very well. It's a little crinkly. All right, I'm smushing it in. How are the chickens? The chickens are good. I always feel bad for them because it's so hot out there. But I mean, I guess that's... I mean, they're chickens. But I always feel so bad for them because it's just so hot. Anitra said, I'm a sucker for metallics. Me too. Beverly said, just checked Pinterest and they have lots of pixel quilts. Some are free. All right, let's go in and let's fill in, well, everything else. All that empty spot looks like all the same. So we're going to do like a mid-tone blue on everything else. So just sort of in the middle. I'm going to do a hodgepodge of middle tone blues. Let's fill these in down here first. Middle blues. I've already used this fabric one time. That's all right. We're going to use it again. Like that. And then is that dark? That's kind of dark. And that's dark. Let's use some of these. And some stripes are going up and down, and some are going side to side. I'm just going to work my way right on up. But since I have these fabrics in my hand, I'm going to add more glue dots on the page and use these up. Anyway, I hope this quilt has been fun for y'all. Let's put you there. I'll tell you what, I have been seeing pictures on the Creative Crew of your butterfly quilts. And I just think it is so dang cool how each block looks just random like this, right? But they're really starting to take that's dark. Hold on a second. They're really starting, when you put them together, you see the butterfly. Oh, that's dark. I'm running out of options here. Let's do this there. And there. You really start seeing the butterfly. Beverly, that you are fine. You know what? There are just, life is too short. Life is too short, and we do not have enough time in our days to experience how many awesome creators there are out there. Do you know what I'm saying? And I like to share the knowledge. So I do not mind you sharing information like that at all. Now, if I was selling this pattern, and you're like, go buy this other pattern, then I'd be like, what are you doing? That's right. I love that y'all share stuff with each other. I really like this fabric. I think I made part of a bag out of that. Let's bring in this one right here. I know. Jeanette says, poor Dolly. I know. And you know what? She's so random, though. Let me just tell you. So, as soon as the weather started warming up, she hates going outside because of the bugs. The bugs. And, but today, she's so random. She was like, I have to go out, I have to go out. So I let her out, and she just wanted to sit on the back deck, which is so not like her behavior at all. It's so weird, because she's not just a go sit outside kind of dog. She just doesn't enjoy doing that. So I sat out on the porch swing with her, and we sat out there for about 20 minutes, which was just so random for her. But yeah, I feel she's, you know, she's hot. And she wants to be in a room with somebody. So she would rather lay in here with me in this hot room than to go lay by herself in the much cooler room right over there. Bless her heart. All right, let's find 2 more that are not dark and not light. I choose you, Pikachu. Right there. And right there. And just like that, we have put 100 little fabric squares down. And if you're just joining in and you're like, whoa, you know, scrolling through YouTube, and I popped up on the screen and you're like, what is she doing? Let me click on her video. What in the world is that? It's part of a butterfly, and you can't see it yet. It goes with 15 other blocks like this that make a butterfly picture. Believe it or not, it really does. So you know what? I have realized that at this point, I have started just letting it sit right on, clipped right to my template, or template, my grid, for a couple hours till it's completely dry. And you know what? Because it's laminated, it just pops right off. But none of my fabric squares fall off because the glue is dry. If I try to lift this up and reuse my grid to do the next part, some, it's possible, might fall off because the glue is wet. So I've just been letting it sit. And in this room, it doesn't take very long, right? But I've just been letting it sit till it's completely dry and then taking it off the grid. So there we are. That is week 11 for me. I wonder what yours looks like. I have missed a lot of conversation here. Let's scroll back up and see. I'm having trouble getting my blocks to 10.5 square. They are always a little bit off. They are always off a little bit. I'm trying to be consistent with my 1/4 inch seam, and I have been able to make the most of them work. Any ideas? The only thing that I could think of, if you have kept the interfacing the same throughout the whole thing, is that all the different fabrics, some are thin, some are thick. Maybe that's eating up some of your seam allowance, right? In some places and not in others. That's a possibility. What else could it be? If you've changed out your thread, the thread thickness can take up some space in your seam allowance. That's a possibility. Do you know what makes it really easy for me to be consistent if I'm working on a long project like this? Is writing down the settings of my sewing machine. My Juki, when I turn it on, if I push number 2, it says dink, the needle goes over 1/4 inch seam allowance. If I do that every time, then consistently my seam allowance is the same. But if I have to manually set a 1/4 inch seam allowance each time I'm at the sewing machine, it's possible like I didn't go over enough little notches. That could make a difference, right? It could be the way that you're pressing. Like maybe one, you pressed it and spread out the squares more. There's so many variables. It would be hard to say without watching what you're doing. I would tell you, and here's something that, you know, I didn't do it in the very first video. But after like week 2, was it week 2? I started trimming off the extra fusible before sewing. In week 1, I left it on there. You can go back and watch that. But I found it was getting in the way, right? So I started squaring this up. And I used my biggest ruler. I can't tell you how big it was. I just cleaned up all the edges, right? Because it's pretty square. Because we're putting it, you know, lining it up to the grid. But just cleaning that off. I don't know, it's hard. I'm just trying to rack my brain to think what else could be causing your blocks to be inconsistent. I think a lot of it might just be the different fabrics you're using, because this is a whole Mod Podge. I'm using a whole Mod Podge of fabrics. And I'll tell you, you know, when you look at them, like this one is so thin. This one is flimsy, flimsy, flimsy. See that? It doesn't even stand up straight. This one is thicker. See how this one wants to just droop over? And this one doesn't? This one's thicker. So any seams where those two are together might be a little bit thicker. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. It's always interesting, isn't it? Chrissy says, I've really enjoyed the process so far. Yay! But you are adding glue, and the fusible, it adds to the thicker seams. I'm just putting glue right in the middle. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm not putting any glue where my seams are falling. So there's no glue in my seam allowances, but the fusible does make the seam allowances thicker, for sure. Anitra says, I've been quilting since 2014 and I'm still not the most consistent piecer. The quilt I'm working on now, I had to see each seam at least twice. I had to sew each seam at least twice since I'm using my featherweight. It is frustrating. Yes. Will you show us how you're going to add borders? Kim, I don't think I'm going to add borders to my butterfly. I think I'm just going to let the butterfly just exist just on its own, just like that picture up in the corner. Of course, you could add borders. You would add borders the same way you would on any quilt, right? I think I'm gonna go borderless on this one. Borderless. Of course, if you wanted to make it bigger or frame it, you know, a border would be a nice frame around this, right? You could certainly do that. Let me put the little lid on my glue before I lose it. Do y'all want to see what EQ is? I mean, I won't take the time to like go in and do a full-blown tutorial on it, but I'll show you around EQ8 if you want. This has to dry anyway before I take it off the grid, so I won't be doing number 12 until tomorrow morning. I love the blues together. Show us your butterfly so far. Okay. Yes, please on EQ8. All right, let me grab my butterfly real quick. I'll show you that. Where is my butterfly? Okay, I have to come up here. So this is the first half of the butterfly sewn together. This is sewn together. Let me make sure it's in the right orientation. Okay, there we go. Right side up. Isn't that pretty? I love it, and I'm having so much fun with it. I have last week's blocks. They're at this stage, right? They're glued onto the interfacing, and I did fuse those down, but I haven't sewn the seams of those yet. So after this week, we have the third full row that we could add to that. TJ Texas, I'm stubborn. I'm not ready to give up. I love the process and want to believe as I try your ideas, the blocks will get better. Have you tried sewing them together? Do your seams line up? Because I feel like as long as the seams line up, you're golden. And I bet you the blocks that are shorter or smaller than the others, I bet you they're stretchy. And I bet you if you just nudge them a little bit, your seams will line up. Don't give up. This quilt has so many seams. There's so many possibilities for it to not be perfect. Okay? Karina says, I have to ask all my friends for pieces of material. I do not have a big stash. Well, that's a great way to get lots of different little snippets, lots of little different fabrics. You could get everybody together and say, hey, everybody bring 10 back quarters or 10 scraps and let's swap them out and get a variety. That's a great idea. All right, I'm going to share my screen. We're going to go over to EQ8 for a minute. Just so you know, I paid for EQ8. I'm not a sponsor for EQ8. I'm not a teacher for EQ8. I'm a user and customer for EQ8, and I love it. Let me share my screen. It's going to look a little crazy as I bring this up for a minute. Okay. There we go. Where's my EQ8? Down here. As that's opening, you'll give me a second. because I want to be able to see the chat on my phone, and I cannot. So when you open up EQ8, it looks like this. Hold on one second. Live. Oh, glory, Lisa. Hold on a second, y'all. There it is. I always push the wrong buttons with my fingers, and then everything goes haywire. All messages. Okay. Okay, so when you open up EQ8, it looks like this, right? You can import and edit fabric images. So like when I showed you images of Sunday stars, it was using fabric swatches, so it looked like it matched what I was making during each tutorial, right? Because I uploaded the fabric swatches of the same fabric I was using in my quilt, which is really cool. You can do that. You can search for block patterns. I don't ever do that. I don't know what that is. You can design a block from scratch. That is so much fun. I do that a lot. You can start with a quick quilt project. Let's just click on that. And look, they've already designed some quilts for you, and you can go in and color them. They have easy quilts, log cabin quilts, medallion quilts. Look at that. Who was around? Who made a mystery medallion quilt? They have a New York Beauty. One patch quilts. There you go. There's a little grandmother's garden. Is that what that is? You can design. They have preloaded quilt labels that you can design, or that's already designed, and you just go in and tweak them, right? Quilts with sashing. Storm at Sea. Isn't that beautiful? They have different strip quilts that you can make already loaded in. They have some preloaded table runners and t-shirt quilts. I tried to use this to design a t-shirt quilt, and I found it a little bit frustrating, but that's just me. Okay. So there's some preloaded quilt designs in there, but you can design a quilt from scratch, and that's where the powerhouse is behind EQ8, right? So if you say design a quilt from scratch, you get several different just foundation layouts, right? You have horizontal rows like we're doing in the butterfly quilt. Same size blocks going straight across into rows. Then they have on point, they have variable point, they have baby blocks and variable blocks, horizontal strips and vertical strips. One patch, photo patch. Photo patch is what I used to create the butterfly pixel quilts. Okay. And then custom set. And this is like a collage style t-shirt quilt where all the blocks are different sizes. You could use this for that, right? So let's just say we're going to make a horizontal quilt. So we pick that, and then we go to the next tab for the layout. And this is where we decide how many blocks across we want and how many rows down we want. And we decide on how big we want our quilt blocks to be. So let's say a 12-inch quilt block. 12. And we can add sashing if we want to. So let's just add some sashing. Isn't that pretty so far? So there's our quilt layout, right? And then we can decide on borders. So let's say right now we have a 1-inch border, and let's add another border that is 3 inches, or yeah, 3 inches. So now we have 2 borders on our quilt, and we can decide, you can change what kind of borders you're adding. Let's say you want diamonds in your border. You could do that. Let's make this border a little bit wider like that. There we go. And then we go to design, and this is like really when the quilt starts taking on a life. Let's just choose, like, these are preloaded like default quilt blocks where you could just start designing right here, but there's a whole library, y'all. If you click on library, there's, I don't know how many quilt blocks it is. There's a lot. There's antique mosaics. There's baskets. Let's add this one to the sketchbook. And then we have chain blocks. Let's add this one to the sketchbook. There's Dresden fans. There's 8-pointed stars, lone stars, 9-patch blocks, variable star blocks. There's foundation pieced blocks and alphabets and animals, scenes and beaches, crazy blocks, holiday foundation paper piece blocks, houses. It just goes on and on, right? Then you have classic applique, where it already has the applique pieces drawn for you. You don't have to draw. It draws it for you, right? There's the butterflies, flowers, roses, and silhouette. We'll just do every other block a flower block. See that? I hope I didn't lose you. I just got a little notification. Okay, I'm still moving. And then we'll use this block right through here, like so. Do I want to keep the sashing in there? I guess I do. All right, and then we can go to the fabric tools, right? So upon default, it has a little fabric swatches that load every time you open it up, right? But I like to bring in custom colors, so I clear all those out. I clear all the default ones out, and I open up the library. And then, watch this, we can add, where's purple? We can add all of these fabrics in there, all these purples. I'm going to say select all of them and add to the sketchbook. And then where are my cream colors? Beige, cream, white. Let's go with white. Select all of them and add. And then purple and yellow go together really good. So let's add all of these yellows to the sketchbook. So now we have all of these fabrics to choose from, right? So now we can just start coloring in fabric squares. So there's that purple. There's that purple. And let's do purple flowers too. And I'm going to color this in. And then I'm going to show you some cool things that you can do in addition to what I'm showing you. Like, you see the designing stuff, right? So there's that. Let's go to the paintbrush. Let's add some sashing color. And let's pick this for the cornerstones. Look how fast this quilt's coming together, y'all. There's a little gold border. Here's some diamonds. And there's some diamonds. And let's repeat this fabric up there like that. Now, ta-da, we have a quilt. Right? Is EQ8 a program that is free or purchased? You have to buy it. But it's a one-time purchase. If you just do a Google search for EQ8, you'll find it. If designing and creating it's something that you love to do, it is so worth the purchase. It really is. If you're someone who makes lots of projects, it's so worth the purchase, right? All right, so let's say you design a quilt. Let's go over to print and export. So here's my quilt, and I'm gonna go to yardage. And I'm just gonna click on preview and zoom in so you can see. There's the fabrics in my quilt. Here's how many little patches in my quilt, how many times I use it. And here's an estimated yardage of each one of the quilts. And these are all preloaded in there. Like, I don't know that you'd be able to find Hopscotch by Jamie Fingal. Maybe. Maybe not. I don't know. But it does tell you the fabrics that you've added to your quilt too. So that's really cool, right? Now, these numbers here, I would round up, right? Round up, okay? And then if you click on this block right here and you say rotary cutting and preview, it breaks down that block and tells you, let's just zoom in to this section right here. It tells you you need 7 pieces that are cut from a 2.25 inch wide strip, and from that strip you're gonna cut squares, and you need 7 squares, and then you need 8 patches that are cut like this. You need 2 patches that are cut like this, right? So it tells you your cutting instructions for rotary cutting, but close. Let's say we want to do foundation paper piecing with this block. See how it's not colored in? You'd have to go in here and color that in yourself. Sections, whoops. So you would say, all right, this is going to be a section. Start over. Oh, it's not letting me do it with that block. Let's choose this one. There we go. So this blue, that's one foundation. This red square, that's one foundation. So it would take 4 different pieces to make up that block, right? And there are my foundations right there. See that? Now what's really cool is you can draw your own paper piecing foundations that are completely original to you. And I love to do that. I don't have a link to where I get credit. I'm not an affiliate for EQ8. So I don't have any kind of coupon code or any kind of discount. I'm sorry. I also don't make any money if you buy this, but my recommendation is if you're interested in designing your own works, this is the software you want. It is just so cool. What else was I going to show you? You can design your own quilt labels in this if you wanted to. Let's go back to design. What's really cool is, let's say real quick you wanted to swap out colors. See that? So there's some days where I just lose track of time playing around in this software. But that's a basic overall of what it does. I mean, I could go into it a lot more, but let's just go back here and we'll take a look at some of the stuff I've done. Y'all remember this? This was the candle pot holder. This is on my YouTube channel. That was a fun project. The Churn Dash Quilt project. That was fun. This is the little Easter Bunny quilt project I did. Fall Mystery Quilt. That's empty. I must have ditched that quilt. Flower Pot Table Runners. We did that, I think, on Patreon. We did that somewhere. Heart Table Runner, Kaleidoscope. Let's open that up. There we go. Now, just to give you a little, we were going to do this as a mystery quilt. But it's the same block repeated just in different colorways, and I thought that that might kind of be boring as a mystery quilt. But isn't that gorgeous? Chrissy says, I'm hooked on digitizing right now, so I haven't played as much. But I have done my own quilt. Isn't digitizing so much fun? So yeah, there's a whole array of different stuff that you can do. And that's just a real fast glimpse of what EQ8 does, right? It is so much fun. It is so much fun. All right, everybody. Where'd everybody go? Hold on a second. There we go. Is EQ8 only for quilts? Yeah, it's a quilt designing software. It doesn't digitize embroidery. It doesn't. I'm trying to think of what else you could do with it. That's really it. Designing quilts, table runners, wall quilts, pixel quilts. Where do you purchase EQ8 at? I would Google it. They have their own website. I think I've seen it on Amazon before, but I'm always like, when I buy software, I want to buy it directly from the people who have the software. That's just me, y'all. That's a little thing, you know, we all have our own little, like, things. I went to EQ8 directly and got mine. But I'm going to tell you, I've used it so much. I've used it a lot. I've used it a lot. Well, I mean, almost every project we do, it started off in EQ8. Yeah, even this. I did the paper piecing panel foundations for the top and bottom of this project, which is so bright on the screen, in EQ8. But then I digitized it in Brilliance, and the machine stitched and made it for me. Well, that would be a pity for you to stop watching, Miss Susan, because of the ads. That would be a pity. Think of all the times you get to spend with me. Maybe change the device you're watching from. That might have a lot to do with it. I know for me, if I watch on my phone, I hardly get any ads at all. But if I turn YouTube on my TV, I get a million gazillion ads. I don't know why. That's crazy, y'all. That's crazy. Alright, y'all. I am off. We've been a little over an hour. This is almost dry. I just felt it. I might have time to take this off and do my next one before I gotta start supper. Those of you on Patreon, I look forward to hanging out with you tomorrow. And Sunday. Should be a fun weekend. I hope y'all have a great week, and share pictures of your progress of the Pixel Quilt over on Creative Crew. Y'all have a fantastic week. I'll see you next Friday.
In the quiet of the evening light, with needles dancing, stitching inside each patch of story, every thread unbinding love and fabric where we belong. Every stitch a whispered prayer,